the cartel essentially has taken over the business of smuggling migrants.
How are they actually bringing them over the border into America?
That's where Americans come in. That was one of the most chilling moments we've ever filmed, actually, because we get there and there's like a dozen migrants who are on their last step of the journey, about to make it to the United States. And so the cartel was waiting for the money, and they'd receive the money from everyone except for this one guy.
Can you talk about the work that you guys did, or the piece that you did on the migrant smuggling?
Yeah.
And how that works?
Yeah. So one of the first stories I ever did in the United States, or for an American organization, news organization, was about migrants. And it was about the death train, which is el Tren de la Muerte. It's a train that carries migrants from southern Mexico all the way to the border with the United States. And at the time I did this story, it was 2006, 2005, 4 or 5. So it was essentially 20 years ago. And the biggest hurdle and danger to the migrants that were trying to make it to the United States was, in fact, that train. I mean, it's a cargo train. People are holding on to the sides of the train or riding on the top of the train. They're falling off. They're, falling asleep. It's days on end and being amputated and dying, and it's these horrible stories. And there was cartel presence back then, and particularly for women, it was really dangerous because cartel members would come and would threaten them and rape them and take all their money. So these stories that we heard again and again, we were following a group of migrants as they were making this dangerous journey. But 20 years later, here I was last year doing the story about migrants, and it had completely changed. The town where we reported initially, where the beginning of that death train was, is Tapachula in southern Mexico. And the town has completely changed, where the train is no longer running, and instead it is the cartel that essentially has taken over the business of smuggling migrants. So for us, it became a business story. We realized that the migrant smuggling story was now a business story. And we got access to King Coyote, as he's known. He's one of the biggest smugglers, or he says himself that he's one of the biggest human smugglers in Mexico. And he runs a massive operation where he charges each migrant between $10,000 and $12,000 to make the journey to the United States, from Central America to the United States. His clients, as he calls them, come from all over the world. He is from India, the Middle East, Africa, all over the world, and they come through, Central America and through Mexico to make it to the U.S. And he told us, and he's carrying 100 to 150 migrants every week, charging them $12,000 each. So it's millions of dollars that he's making every single week. And so it's a huge business. He has a finance department. He has a human resources department. He has lawyers working for him in the United States, tracking every change in the law so that he knows when it's best to cross people over. He has eyes on Border Patrol. I mean, it was insane what we were able to find.
It's nuts. And nuts. And they're paying off those border agents too, right?
Yes, he talked about corruption as well. Yes. I mean, this is not to say I don't want this to be, I think, the vast majority of border agents are heroes. They're working and risking their lives working on the border every single day. But there is corruption in, every single agency in America, in the world, and we've heard in all my reporting, I've heard extensively about corruption in all sort of law enforcement agencies, including Border Patrol.
Yeah. There's bad apples in every bunch.
Exactly.
But so how are they actually doing it? Because I remember that story came out, like the one about there was I think 50 dead migrants in like a big 18-wheeler cargo truck that they found. Like, how are they actually bringing them over the border into America?
So a lot of them, they're coming, we were actually with some migrants as we see them doing sort of the last journey into the United States, and they don't come through legal ports of entry. Unlike the drugs, they actually come across illegally. And a lot of times when it comes to Central Americans coming from places like Haiti or Venezuela, the idea is that they're going to give themselves up to the authorities and ask for asylum. So it's as easy as that, or as difficult as that, because a lot of them, actually, I think it's almost 1,000 migrants die every year trying to make this journey, just crossing the border into the United States, which is, if you think, a lot of people dying needlessly. But one interesting thing that I learned while doing that story was that once they cross the border, if their intention is not to give themselves up to the authorities and claim asylum, all the others that are Mexicans, for example, who can't so easily claim asylum, or from other countries, that they want to get, they don't want to, that there's all these checkpoints. The checkpoints don't stop at the border. There's checkpoints right after the border if you're trying to make your way north. So for the vast majority of people who are trying to make it to Los Angeles or to Chicago or New York or the big cities, they have to be able to go through those checkpoints as well. And that's where Americans come in, because a lot of Americans, and it turned out that it was a lot of American students who were trying to make an easy buck, and the cartel would pay them to transport those migrants in their cars all the time. It was really fascinating to see that. It's a part of the trade that I didn't know was happening.
Weren't they putting ads out on
yes,
TikTok?
TikTok. Openly. And we were trying, we saw the TikTok ads, and we actually met with some of those people on that were putting out those TikTok ads. Unfortunately, we weren't able to convince them to talk to us. We tried, and we met them. And I didn't meet them, my producer did at the time. And it was really fascinating. And they talked to them, but we weren't able to get that access. But yeah, they openly say what they were doing. Do you wanna ride from right from the border up to Austin or Houston or wherever they were going, or Los Angeles? Hit me up.
Oh my God! Because I remember. There's one point where you go to a stash house where the migrants are waiting, and one guy's waiting for his sister to pay for him to be released or something. And there was orange sound panels all over the walls, which is, do you know why that was?
Yes, I do.
Why is that?
It had something to do with the location that we can't disclose, but it had something to do with the location where they agreed to meet us. And with what it was used for. But it wasn't relevant to the story itself. And plus, in order to get this access, we very often cannot disclose the location. But that was one of the most chilling moments we've ever filmed, actually, because we were seeing in real time what was happening. We got to this room, we weren't sure what to expect. We get there, and there's a dozen migrants who are on their last step of the journey, about to make it to the United States, but it's a point where they have to pay the remaining amount of money. Actually, the last money that's being given to the cartel is once they cross the border, but this is the before last payment that's made. And so the cartel was waiting for the money, and they'd receive the money from everyone except for this one guy. And we were there when he makes the phone call to the sister, who's a farm worker in the United States, and says, "Hey, you still have to pay me the $3,000 or else you're not going to see your brother." And, if you read between the lines, what she means is, they have no intentions of letting this brother go. Not only not make it into the United States, but who knows what ultimately is going to happen to him. So it was really chilling to be in the room at the time. And I asked him all sorts of questions. Are you really willing to hurt this person? What does it say about you that you're willing to do this? And it was a shocking moment.
So the reason for the sound panels, was that is it
it had nothing to do with the business that they were doing.
I was going to say, is it a dark reason, or is it just a place that would have them?
It was a place that would have them before. So it actually had nothing to do with the migrant smuggling business.
Interesting. Now I'm just thinking about the kind of places that have those. Maybe it was a podcast studio.
Are you running an operation there, Dalton? I think it's you.
We'll cut that out. Just kidding. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the interview. If you got anything out of this video at all, please like the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought of the video, tell me who you'd like to see on the show. I really appreciate the support. It goes a long way on these platforms, as you guys know. Most importantly, I have some excellent interviews coming up in the future that I'm really, really excited about. So please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of them. But that's it. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you again soon.